Mason parked his own car at the curb, walked calmly up the driveway, and began examining the Buick. A fender on the rear had been straightened. There were a few places on the rear of the body where it looked as though the paint had been skillfully matched and rubbed. The tire on the right rear wheel was brand new. Mason was looking at the rear bumper when the door opened. A man with broad shoulders, heavy square jaw, and belligerent manner said, "What's the idea?" Mason looked up and said without smiling, "Mr. Argyle?" "No." "Is he in?" "What's that got to do with the way you're prowling around that car?" "I'm not prowling, I'm examining it." "Are you related to Mr. Argyle?" "Not me, I work here." "Indeed. What capacity?" "Chauffeur and butler." "In that event," Mason said, taking a card case from his pocket, "you may assume a more respectful attitude. Take my card to Mr. Argyle and tell him that I want to see him about a matter of the gravest importance. To him." The chauffeur took the card, looked at it, said, "Very well," and started up the steps to the house. Mason followed. "Just a minute," the chauffeur said. "You wait here." He went inside, closing the door behind him, reappeared after a few moments and said, "Yes, sir, you may come in." The interior of the house was steeped in an atmosphere of quiet luxury. The aroma of an expensive cigar came from the room on the right. The chauffeur indicated this door, said, "In there, Mr. Argyle will see you." The room was a combined den and library, with guns, books, comfortable leather chairs, hunting prints, photographs, and an air of having been lived in. The portable bar in one corner was open, disclosing rows of bottles. A glass of scotch and soda reposed on a smoking stand near the leather chair in which a man in the early 50s was seated. He arose as Mason entered the room, said,
"Mr. Mason, the lawyer?"
"That's right." The man extended his hand.
"I'm Stephen Argyle. I'm very glad to meet you. I've heard about you. Won't you sit down and join me in a drink?"
He was thin to the point of being bony, with long fingers, high cheekbones, bleached-out eyes, thin hair which was well shot with gray. He wore glasses which clamped on the bridge of a high nose with a black ribbon hanging from the side, giving him an expression of austere power. Mason said, "Thank you. I'll have a scotch and soda, please." Argyle nodded to the butler, who walked over to the portable bar, dropped ice cubes in a glass, mixed a scotch and soda, wordlessly handed it to Mason. "Nice room you have here," Mason said. "It's comfortable. Has the feeling of being lived in."
"I spend much of my time here. Would you care for a cigar?"
"I'll have one of my cigarettes, if you don't mind." Mason opened his cigarette case. As he tapped a cigarette on the side of the cigarette case, he saw that the butler and chauffeur had no intention of leaving. "You'll pardon me," Mason said, striking a match. "If I'm rather abrupt, my time is somewhat limited." He lit the cigarette, blew out the match, and dropped it in an ashtray.
"Go right ahead,"
Argyle said. Mason glanced at the chauffeur who was standing by the bar. Argyle made no move to dismiss the man. "On the afternoon of the 3rd of this month," Mason said with complete assurance, "at about 5 o'clock your Buick out there was involved in an accident at the intersection of Hickman Avenue and Vermiceille Drive. Who was driving it, you or your chauffeur?"
"That's a question?"
Argyle asked, raising his eyebrows. "A question about who was driving it," Mason said. "The part about the accident isn't a question. It's an assertion."
"Really, Mr. Mason, I'm surprised. Surprised beyond words."
"I take it, then, you weren't driving it." Argyle hesitated for a moment, then said,
"No."
Mason glanced at the chauffeur, whose eyes had suddenly become as intent as those of a cat stalking a bird.
"As a matter of fact,"
Argyle said, carefully weighing his words,
"you are bringing information which confirms my worst fears. I trust the accident was not serious."
"It was serious," Mason said. "What about your fears?"
"My car was stolen on the afternoon of the 3rd. The police recovered it later on that evening, parked in front of a fire plug in the downtown district. The gasoline tank was half empty and the car had been driven over 100 miles.
"Quick work," Mason said.
"On the part of the police?"
Argyle asked. Mason smiled. Argyle frowned. Mason said, "I'm representing Bob Finchley. His mother was driving the car. She was badly shaken up. The car was pretty well wrecked. Bob Finchley sustained a broken hip. It's too early yet to tell whether there will be complications."
"Indeed. That's too bad."
Argyle's.